Hello there, my name is Jason, and I'm being interviewed by Rowan Horn, representative of the Eternal Life Fan Club.
Yes. All right. So we're here in Laughlin, Nevada at the NDEF Cryonics convention. Jason Zhu spoke here earlier. And so let's talk about terasem. So Jason Zhu is a sort of a spokesperson for terasem. Would you say you've worked with the organization for like what? How long?
8 months in full capacity, and on and off for maybe 2 years.
All right. Could you just explain the basics of terasem for anyone that's interested?
Yeah, terasem believes that humanity is constantly progressing and will reach a final state of eternal happiness for all believers, and they will reach that state through technology. People who died today and in the past will be resurrected through mind uploading, and will reach that final state where they are happy and they are revived in either biological form or in computer form, and they will exist just as real people, just as conscious people are today, and that people of any faith can join terasem no matter what they believe in, and combine their beliefs with terasem framework, and imagine this final heaven in their own way and in accordance to their own religion.
All right. So what's like the biggest criticism you've found of terasem as far as in the transhumanist movement, but also just among the general populace? What kind of criticisms does terasem receive?
So for people familiar with transhumanists already and who support transhumanism, the biggest criticism is that it's too religious. It involves, it takes on too much legality, formality, too much ritual, and in a sense brainwashing, because if you perform these rituals, they're based off of emotion instead of logic, and that doing that is somewhat cult-like. So the atheistic transhumanists are really against that. They would want to stay away from the terasem meditations, terasem gatherings, terasem songs, and they would just like to sit down and have rational, plain discussions. For the general populace, the main criticism of terasem is that it's too radical. It combines just beliefs that are too far out there, too extreme, and too hypothetical, that have a very little chance of happening. And even if they did happen, the scenarios would be just so removed from everyday life that it's not something that they would want. They have no idea what it would be like to be resurrected with a computer copy of their mind, and the risks of having a dystopian hell-like scenario from that resurrection is not worth the rewards of extra life.
I see. So, like, personally, my criticism is that from what I see of terasem, it's really focusing on immortality via mind uploading and mind files, whereas I want to focus on rejuvenation medicine, biological immortality, because myself and many other people are very concerned that if you're trying to get immortality through mind files, mind uploading, if you make a copy of yourself, it's not going to really be yourself, right? If you tried to upload your brain to some computer, is that really going to be your own? Is that going to be you, or is it just going to be a replica?
Well, the analogy I would use is, suppose you really like Elvis Presley's music, and you wanted to bring the joy of Elvis Presley to people living today, even though he's dead. And I wanted to make digital recordings of his music and store them in MP3s. And you say, oh, hey, no, that's fake. That's not the real Elvis's voice. It had more, more life and more like a flavor when you actually listen to him. And I just say, no, it's the exact same thing. There's just like a little bit of fuzziness that you can only detect if you use advanced software and equipment. It's pretty much the same thing. The normal person actually can't tell the difference. I think that there's no conflict between trying to digitally copy a person and trying to achieve an entirely separate goal of like copying the identical biological copies. They're two extremely ambitious goals that require a lot of time and effort in different like scientific fields. but you can still support them both.
Does terasem receive donations, and where would that money be going? See, like if I were to start something like terasem, like I would want all that money to be going to Sen's Foundation, but where does the money go from terasem? Where does that go?
So a lot of the money that terasem spends is on the mind filing program, maintaining the first servers for CyberRev, which helps people maintain the memories they've stored online. And I can't comment specifically because I'm not in the organization as actively now, and terasem does have some, privacy as being not a public corporation and as being like a private entity. But generally, the mind filing requires a lot of maintenance, and the Bina 48 project was obviously fairly expensive. And anything that requires hardware, like the Bina 48 project, and staffing would take up a lot of money for terasem.
I see. So let's talk about some of your personal motivations for, like, are you into the idea of part of terasem is about immortality in their own way, that they think they're going to get immortality. So are you motivated by the idea of trying to live forever? Is that appealing to you?
Oh yes, definitely. I'm definitely appealed by the idea of living forever, of waking up as if I had gone to sleep, and appearing in that sci-fi world just like the movie showed. And yeah, I would definitely want to live forever. I don't want to die within the next 10 years because I have goals within the next 10 years, and 10 years after that, the same thing will happen, and that'll continue on forever. So in that sense, I do want to live forever, and I'm very interested in seeing what the future holds, as well as far as radical technology goes, transhumanism, artificial intelligence, and radical changes to our society.
What are you most excited about the future?
I'm most excited about? Well, just to throw something out there, I would be really excited about achieving altered state of consciousness. Obviously people today can achieve it with drugs, which we have been using for thousands of years. But if we have more advanced ways of doing it without drugs, like virtual reality, I would really be looking forward to that.
Do you have any fear of death? A lot of people, a lot of transhumanists have big death anxiety, fear of death. Is that something that you can relate to? Do you have fear of death?
Yeah, I've definitely related to that feeling before. But I can take a lot of different perspectives depending on the time and place. Sometimes, I fall asleep and I really enjoy it, and I just say, I didn't exist when I was in those 8 hours I was sleeping, in a sense, besides those small snapshots when I had dreams. But that didn't feel too bad. That might be what death is like, except it's forever, so you never wake up.
Permanent sleep.
Yeah, permanent sleep. So I mean, yeah, I've felt those feelings before, being afraid of death, but other times I'm not so afraid of it. So I've experienced, pretty much all the reactions to death that many people experience.
I myself am extremely afraid of death, as you know. What would you say to someone like me who is extremely afraid of death? Would you have a piece of advice, or what would you say to someone like me?
I would say do what you can do to prevent death from happening, and continue to be healthy and live life well, and don't be too disappointed about things that are just insanely beyond your control as a person. Just like you shouldn't be angry that you can't prevent poverty in Africa. If there's certain things like, let's say, ending mitochondrial mutations that you have no direct control over, you shouldn't be too upset about that. But on the other hand, you should be passionate about spreading advocacy, about pushing yourself to do all you can do to get out the word, to best coordinate, the life extension movement, to best advance the research. So yeah, just don't go off too far in the end of being depressed about death, because if get too emotional about it, it might backfire.
Yeah, I tend to use my fear as fuel, as
Oh,
motivation to strive for
Yeah.
Perfectionism and increased activism and my passion for
Definitely.
anti-aging.
Yeah, that's definitely great.
So I wanted to ask you, are you doing anything to live prudently and safely? Do you think there's a good chance that you could live to the longevity escape velocity and end up living long enough to live forever? Do you think that what are you doing to stay super healthy?
Well, first of all, I believe if there's a major technological escape velocity like singularity, we do have a chance of achieving longevity escape velocity, living to see the aging being reversed, and then living long enough for other causes of aging to be reversed, and and living forever eventually. But to answer your question, what was it again?
It was, what are you doing to stay extremely healthy to increase your chances of reaching longevity escape velocity, as the idea Aubrey de Grey often talks about, just live long enough to live forever.
Right now, I am taking multivitamin pills. However, I haven't done enough research, and certain sources say that they actually are not effective. But since I haven't read anywhere that they hurt, I just continue to take the pills, thinking that I need, vitamin K, all the essential vitamins and nutrients in order for my immune system, my circular system, and all my bodily systems to function. And I do not take the best care of my health. I ate Sonic onion rings on the trip here, so that wasn't a good choice. But whenever I can, I do try to make healthy eating options. I do exercise regularly with playing basketball, and generally I maintain a great social circles, which is a common trait among centenarians because they have good social support circles. And pretty much that is most of the things that I can do.
How about calorie restriction?
Calorie restriction.
Do you think that will increase your lifespan?
I don't practice that. I think it can increase your lifespan a little bit with extreme amounts of effort, but not much, given the fact that, in that study of 20 bonobos, there was a 2% increase, and that's, less than the error rate in the study itself. So that doesn't really prove that it works, but it worked in mice, so maybe it works in humans. But I'm just nowhere near the level of discipline in order to actually do it.
How about methionine restriction? Have you heard about that?
I've never heard about that.
Yeah, methionine restriction is basically there's an amino acid, methionine, which can actually, they found a lot of the benefits of calorie restriction are actually due to methionine. So it's too much methionine in a diet can actually cut your lifespan short. So
I never knew
look
that.
into that.
I'll research that.
And
yes.
methionine is high in things like meat. I know you're a vegetarian, aren't you?
Yes.
So that's another thing you're doing to be healthy.
Oh yes, definitely.
I think vegetarians on average, they do live longer, right?
Yes, on average.
Like there's the Seventh-day Adventists and
Seventh-day Adventist study, yes.
the Okinawas that are pretty much vegetarian almost.
Semi-vegetarians.
Where on your priorities would you say is your passion for living forever? Is that like your top priority, or do you have something above that even? Because I know, don't you have a background in kind of a hedonistic philosophy? So could you describe for us, like, how important is hedonism to you versus living forever? Would you be willing to sacrifice pleasure to increase your chances of living forever? Let's say there was something you really enjoyed, right? But it was dangerous.
Yeah.
It was risky, and it could end up killing you. Would you be willing to sacrifice things that you enjoyed perhaps more than anything? Would you be willing to sacrifice that to increase your odds of living forever?
No. Well, to quote Dwight D. Eisenhower, what is urgent is never important, and what is important is never urgent. So a lot of times in life, I find myself too busy to do things like eating healthy, or let's just say getting that new computer, which I've been trying to get for a long time because I'm just so swamped with work that all the urgent stuff like doing something for my boss that can directly impact my work just prevents me from getting all those tasks done. So I think in practice I probably do a lot of dangerous things that are compromising the probability that I'm living forever. Like driving here, there were several dangerous moments, where we were skidding on the edge of the road, and that's not a risk you want to take if you can fly. I know we've been in debate about whether flying is safe, but there are safer options than driving 8 hours overnight.
Yeah.
So,
okay, here's a question. What would you say is the most dangerous thing you do? Increase your chance of death more than anything else that you do. My first reaction to that question was driving, but if I think about it, I would say of all the things I do that I have control over, not making more money, because by not making more money, what if I don't have the money to buy the life extension technology in the future when it actually comes? And only people today who in our generation will get it are the millionaires, and we failed the longevity escape velocity. Like people 200 years from now will all have it, but we were just the ones who missed that cutoff point because we didn't have enough money. So that would suck.
So not making enough money is the most dangerous thing you can ever do.
Well, that's kind of the opposite of what Jesus said, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, Jesus was like, give up your belongings because it attaches you to this world, and this world is fake. It's the kingdom of heaven, which is the real reality.
Yeah, Jesus even said, like, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than for a camel to get through the eye of the needle, right? It's like this hard thing. It actually decreases your chances. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about religion. Where do you have a history in? Where's your religious background? As you know, I used to be a Christian. Now I'm an atheist, but I'm still an agnostic atheist. So I admit that God is possible, but it's complete hypothetical conjecture. So where do you fall in this spectrum?
So before I was 10 years old, in my simplistic mind, I was pretty much atheist because my dad was, and all I knew about pretty much the only comments I made about religion were kind of following his suit. So in that sense, I was an atheist before age 10. But then when I was 10, I started going to church because my parents wanted something for me to socialize. And that happened for about 3 years. And I wasn't completely Christian during that time. I was still somewhat atheist, but I would say I was somewhat exposed to Christianity. And I went back to atheism for the next 6 years when I was like a teenager. But then when I was 20 years old, I felt lonely at college, and the best thing to do was go to the Christian club because they had the best events. So I was in the same situation. I was philosophically mostly atheist, but I liked hanging out with them, and I would just, say some Christian things on occasion to just please them. So I was partially getting my mind sucked into atheism. And after college, after I went into my religious exploration, I did become genuinely religious at times, combining ideas of different religions. So I've kind of fluctuated over time, but I would definitely say a lot of different religious ideas have influenced me. And technically I would be an agnostic, but I would more identify with being a transhumanist because I believe it's more important in what you believe about where humanity is going than what you believe of how humanity came to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, from reading some of the things you've wrote, you've talked about Pascal's wager a lot. So this idea of Pascal's wager, does that really interest you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so, applying Pascal's wager to your own life, how do you answer that question? Like if a Christian came to you and said, hey Jason, you're not being very smart, what if God does exist? You have nothing to lose by, the Pascal's wager, which is basically believe. And what would you say to that kind of Christian that's saying, that's how you should get eternal life? What would you do to that?
Well, I can say I can definitely fake being Christian, but obviously God knows that I'm only doing it because I'm trying to get into heaven, not because I really believe. So I might be defeating a purpose, but there's little harm in going to church and appearing like you're Christian unless you're afraid of wasting your time. So I would say, it's all about your perspective on what's likely to happen, and everyone assigns different probabilities to different scenarios based on what they know. Some people think probability of Jesus being Lord and Savior is high, others think it's low, so it's all up to you.
I see. What about the idea that what if Jesus and God, if they were real, let's just say for argument's sake, you ever think about the possibility that they wouldn't even care if you believed or not, but they would actually judge people by their actions? Like if you were a good person or not, right? If you helped people, if you were virtuous, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I definitely believe it's possible. I also believe it's possible that God is evil and will damn everyone anyway. I also believe it's possible that God rewards evil people and punishes good people. I also believe it's possible God doesn't exist. I also believe it's possible that there were an infinite series of superior beings that we might not know ever ends, and that were created by a creator who was created by a creator, and on and on. So I believe anything is possible.
That's a good way to be.
Yep.
That's like pure agnosticism, right?
Basically, yes.
But you can't help what you believe at your core, right? Like you believe. The question of agnosticism and atheism are two different questions, right? So you could be an agnostic and an atheist. Is that what you'd identify as, like an agnostic atheist?
Yeah, I can't identify as that. If I had to choose any identity, I would choose transhumanism because that's what I identify with most. And you could say that I'm an agnostic, and because of my agnosticism, I choose transhumanism. But it's all about how you slice it.
Now, I ask this question to everyone. Fill in the blank. I am an Eternal Life fan because... What would you say?
I am an Eternal Life fan because I am... in one sense, I was interested in religion. That's piqued my interest in living forever. But if I'd have to answer the question in a way that sounded good, I would say... I am an Eternal Life fan because why am I an Eternal Life fan? Because currently I'm experiencing a lot of drama in life. There's lots of up and downs, but it's like the combination of all the experiences that make it worth it. And I know that I'm a fan of Indian food. Sometimes when I eat it, it burns my tongue and it's really spicy, but just like life as it is right now, I know that that's just part of the experience, and that's how I view life. So I would want it. So given that cycle of experience, I would want it to continue forever, and that's why I'm an Eternal Life fan.
Because you enjoy experience.
I enjoy a
variety, the ups and downs, the struggle.
A variety of ups and downs in life, yes.
That's a good answer. Do you have any questions for me?
How have your beliefs changed since you first started Eternal Life Fan Club years back?
That's a good question. I don't think they have changed much. Although I might have become more atheistic, less agnostic. I started as agnostic. Now I'm like more atheistic, but that's about it. Just leaning more towards that atheistic side. Just the way I view the world now, it's much more... I view the world as a very indifferent, very cold, kind of cruel world that's... it's a bad place. We're in a lot of trouble. Yeah. We're in a lot of trouble. Gotta fight for our eternal life.
And my other question was, let's say you were an old man right now. You were just about to die, and you could choose between the options of being cryopreserved or being not cryopreserved. Which would you choose? And if you could do anything else, let's say you're 90 years old right now. There's probably not much chance you'll survive more than a few years. What would you do?
I wouldn't accept that I only had 3 years left. You know, like if a doctor said you only have 3 years left to live or whatever, I think I would just try to live longer.
Denial,
do something
yeah.
I'm worried that, you know, if I was a Cryonics member, I don't know. I'm sort of torn about Cryonics.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have much faith that it's actually going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I just want like all the focus to be on curing aging so that I don't die to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to focus on not dying.
Oh, okay. It's like vaccines versus
Because, you know,
cures.
if I sign up for Cryonics, it's almost like I've accepted defeat in a way.
Uh-oh.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
like
all-
I've said previously, that, you know, if someone gave me like $100,000 right now
Uh-huh.
and said, you know, you can use this money however you want.
Uh-huh.
Would I sign up for a Cryonics? I don't think I would.
Really?
I think I would give that money to Sense Foundation.
Really?
I would.
Wow. That
I would refuse Cryonics and just give all that money to Sense Foundation because I want to increase my chances of
Really?
reaching longevity escape
Uh-huh.
velocity. I'm really skeptical that I can be resuscitated from a
I mean, what if they use that money, do tests on mice to try to find, you know, an enzyme that breaks down proteins that causes aging, and then that study fails, and they wasted the $100,000? Wouldn't that be a waste?
It would be, but I mean, just hopefully they're, you know, they know where to spend that money.
Uh-huh.
I really have a lot of trust that Aubrey de Grey, he knows what he's doing. He
Mhm.
knows where that money's going, and it's going to be put to good use.
Uh-huh.
And you know, if I spend it on a cryopreservation, that ultimately could end in my death, right? Because what if they needed that extra money that I just wasted on my own cryopreservation, and then that caused my own death,
Mhm.
when that money could have helped me live long enough
Mhm.
to reach that first bridge where you can live longevity escape velocity, live long enough to live forever. So that's just sort of my attitude about Cryonics. I'm not
Cool.
not really a Cryonics person.
So what you're
although
saying is it's
I-
a gamble either way.
it's a gamble either way. It's a wager. I'm putting my wager on not dying. I'm putting my wager on. That's my motto. Don't die. My motto isn't get cryopreserved and, you know, it's don't die.
Yeah.
You know, do everything you can to make sure that curing aging happens in your lifetime. But now, if you're in a terminally ill person, right?
Yeah.
If you're like Brittany Maynard and you have a brain tumor, that's a different circumstance.
Yeah.
But if you're healthy, if you're living prudently like I am, I'm super healthy, I'm super into being healthy and avoiding risks. Someone like myself, that money might be better spent on just giving it right to Sense Foundation.
Yeah.
So that's my take on that.
Cool. Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
All right, now I'm just gonna ask you a few last questions.
All right.
If you could just give one message to the world, like your message, like
Uh-huh.
what's the most important thing that you want to tell the world?
I believe that future artificial intelligence will revive us. That our consciousnesses can be revived if we work on making technology better, creating intelligent and benevolent beings that can revive us. That there can be an ultimate purpose in life if we can achieve a heaven-like state through being immortal and creating a society where we're happy, and that we can find comfort and solace in our day-to-day lives in the 21st century in the United States by visualizing these potential heavens that are possible, and we should just try to connect with people with the same ideas and work hard to bring more resources to people who want to accomplish the same goals. That would be it.
All right, and my last final question is something I say a lot is that a temporary existence is meaningless. If we came from nothingness and you return into nothingness, you enter into oblivion. I kind of think it's absurd to take this line in between 2 points of nothingness and say, well, that's meaningful. What would you say? What would be your response to that if I said it's meaningless to live a temporary, finite amount of time, regardless if it's 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years. If you die, eventually, it's over. It's meaningless. It's like you were never existed to begin with. There's no point to it.
Okay, my response is the concept of north is meaningless. Like, when you're at the North Pole, every direction is south. When you're at the South Pole, every direction is north. It's just based on where you are. There could be parallel universes. We don't know. There could be people with the exact same brains as us. That's obviously just a randomly selected scenario off of the uncountably large number of multiverse scenarios there are, but that's just a scenario I can pick out. So it all depends. I mean, I know this probably goes against your beliefs, but it kind of depends on perspective, whether a copied person is the same person as you. And for all we know, we could already be copied in a parallel universe. You can't say for certain that if you die, there's not already a parallel Rowan that has the exact same brain living in an entirely different universe. So from a certain perspective, you're right that it would be meaningless that you have no existence after your death. But in the same sense, is every minute that you were sleeping meaningless?
Well, no, because I wake up. But if it was a permanent sleep,
Yeah.
right? If let's say many of the atheist scientists are right, and the universe ends in the heat death of the universe, and everyone dies.
Yeah.
In that world, in that universe, it's meaningless. It's, to me, if the world ends in oblivion, it's nihilism. There's no meaning to
There's
anything.
actually a bunch of photons flying around and other stuff going on, but there's no people or anything, so it'll just be a bunch of scattered light.
It's pointless.
Well, it's still something. It's a bunch of scattered light floating around.
But no consciousness, right?
No consciousness. Just a bunch of light particles flying around. Yeah, it might be meaningless, but something is happening,
To quote Macbeth, it's just a bunch of sound and fury, and in the end, signifying nothing. That's in the world where everything ends. It's just pointless. In the world where my life ends, it's pointless. That's just the way I see it. But
that is very interesting.
do you think so? If your life is temporary, do you still think your life is meaningful if you die and cease to exist one day? Do you have any? Are you holding on to the idea of symbolic immortality in a sense that you can leave a legacy, and is that meaningful to you? Let's say you did this great thing, you helped a lot of people, and after you die and cease to exist, people are are remembering you forever. You're like the most famous person, but you're not there to experience it. Is that meaningful to you?
I would say yes, but less than the average person. And if you were like the person who thought that symbolic immortality is completely meaningless, and the average person was like 100, I would probably be a 25 or something like that.
Okay. I guess that'll be the conclusion. Thank you for listening, audience. Jason Zhu, an awesome Eternal Life fan.
So shine